much do you know about Mahopac? Well, I thought I knew everything until this book came along. Today, we're going to learn about a wonderful place hidden in upstate New York, maybe not so hidden. My name is Vin Aquino, and our guests today are Greg Amato, Barbara Bosch, and Eugene Boesch. What a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Hey. Folks, let's talk writing. You've created a wonderful book about Mahopac. Greg, I know you have Mahopac history. Tell me a little bit about who you are. You were very active in the village and town for a while, too.
Yeah, I was on the Carmel Police Department for 34 years and retired as chief. And then during that time, I was active in community organizations, one of them being the Historical Society, and been interested in local history since, I guess, the early 70s when I started collecting postcards and other memorabilia of Mahopac.
When I started working on Sybil Ludington, people came to me and said, hey, you have to talk to Greg. Have you seen his postcards? Well, I've seen, not all of them, but I have seen some of them. You have a love of history, and your collections are amazing. And I know some of them came through the book. So, love of history of Mahopac. Barbara.
We moved here in 1944 from Queens, and it was marvelous to be in the country. The house I lived in was very old and went back to pre-revolutionary times, so I always had a love of history.
Wow. Now, what year did you come here?
In 1944.
Wow. So that means that the hotels,
All there.
whoa, they were there.
Yes.
I miss the opportunity to see those hotels. I ache. Two things, the railroad coming through and all those wonderful hotels. Now, isn't it true there was also a boat with like a band on it or something that went through so that you could sit on the porch of a hotel and actually hear music?
The Hotel Mahopac had a launch, and it was fun to see the people out on it. My little sisters called it the lunch boat, but we were very, very proud of the hotels.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of Mahopac.
Yeah.
And Eugene, you are a Mahopacian.
Yeah, honorary, I guess. My grandparents came up here in late 1930s, and I grew up here on and off as a child, summers and weekends. I moved up here full time in the late 1980s. I'm an archaeologist, so my interest in Mahopac revolves around its history, its Native American pre-contact period and early historic, period history. And the way this book got started is I went to one of Greg's and Barbara's talks. They were giving one on Carmel and part of the Mahopac area. They had all these wonderful old pictures. I had been approached a number of times by Arcadia Press to do a book like this, and once I experienced Greg's and Barbara's photographs and their wonderful memories, I realized that the work was done for me, basically. So we hooked up together and we put the books together. They are a lot of the institutional memory of Mahopac, so they provided the photos and all the information, and we wrote it. I wrote it together, and we organized it, and hopefully it's a success.
I'm going to pose this to all three of you. When I was working on Sybil Ludington, there was a point where I discovered her history was wrong and that there were major errors. I call them the oh my God moments. When you were doing this book, are there any Mahopac oh my God moments? Things that you said, I didn't know that.
There's lots of those. There's a lot of our history that isn't known because when you're doing the local history, it's one thing, it's hard to find out which family is connected to which family. They still may have the same name, but they're different branches of it, and some of them don't even think they are from the same family, even though the last name is the same. Also, the locations of different places around the community.
And similarities. I know that when I was getting ready to have you on the show, people were confused with Bosch and Bosch. And they say, wait, are they the same people? Are they related? Is it two different people? I ran into that too with my research. There's similarities. Ludington, for example, he spelled his name like 5 different ways. Sybil, there's 11 spellings of Sybil. So that must have been confusing. So And again, when I was doing hauntings, I was in and out of attics looking for ghosts. In a way, you were in and out of attics looking for ghosts too. Where in the world did you get some of the wonderful photos that are in this book?
Putnam County Historian's Office,
Great.
Town of Carmel Historical Society, and a lot of our residents were forthcoming in loaning us their personal photographs, and we were able to scan them and get some history from them and get some history from other sources. The library was very helpful with us, and generally any place and every place.
So that is also one thing we want to make a plea to our audience today. Often, wonderful photos. Photos are history. And wonderful photos are hiding in the attic, in the basement. They get thrown out with the trash. Whatever you do, don't throw out those photos. Many times those photos are historical documents of the people who live here. So, a plea. You would like those letters, you would like those photos, you would like any kind of historical documentation of what came before us.
Just to scan, and we'll return them. If they want to donate
Beautiful.
them to the library, the Historical Society, or the County Historian's Office, that's
But
fine.
you don't have to keep them.
Right.
They can get it back,
Right.
you scan it and give it back.
Right.
Wonderful. That's
I
good news.
think that was one of our objectives of doing this, that history is being lost. It's being
Yeah.
lost daily. We wanted to somehow instill in the population here, the community, that when they go out in the morning and go to Starbucks or come
Yeah.
to Comcast to pay their bills and drive, somewhere. We want them to envision that property the way it was, whether that's 50 years ago or 100 years ago or 150 years ago. And we hope that this book sort of gave a little bit of impetus to have people think in those terms.
I've been quoted several times. Of course, the quote changes depending on where I am and when I say it, but basically, I've said it before. If we do not preserve yesterday for the children of today,
Right.
we are going to be stealing from their tomorrow.
Right.
And we can't do that.
Exactly. We're just stewards of the history, and without
Right.
passing it on to our next generations, we've sort of failed.
Greg mentioned the historian's office. I mean, I spent so much time in that historian's office. You would be amazed to know how much information. Mahopac Library, there's people who don't even know there's a local room where you can go in and look at local history, and they have books and documents, things that people didn't know were there. In Brewster, you could actually go downstairs. They have some of the original newspapers. Of course, now they're putting them online, but there was a time you could browse through and actually see what happened in the 1800s. So what you've done is you've compiled the history. I am very interested. I usually work pretty much alone. I'm very interested about the process of writing. Many of our audience have to do with writing, and they have wonderful ideas. They just don't know how to put them together. One, how long did it take for you to put this all together? And two, was there some kind of a system to this? Who does the writing? Who does the photos? Who does the... You're smiling, and I know what that means. That never easy.
No, it's we all had a part in it here or there. I had most of my history was from 1850 to 1950,
You weren't around
1970.
then,
No, of course not. But I would get the photographs, scan them, and do that, and pass them on to mostly Eugene, and he would put my notes together, Barbara's notes, and Brian Vangor, our Carmel Town historian, who's, he's a phenomenal person.
He is phenomenal.
He
Oh my
should have
God.
been. We wish we could have listed him as a co-author because he contributed so much to it. But Brian did the whole section on railroads for one thing, but he did
Wow.
other parts of it also.
And Joe
Schiavone.
I know he did a whole thing. Did you speak with him at all about the railroads?
Just a little bit. Joe I've known since high school. Even though he went to Somers High School. His wife Grace and I graduated together. We were classmates. Joe did a phenomenal job with the old Putnam line.
Yeah.
He really brings our history back when it comes to that.
All right, so you sat down, you tried to get this all together. Did you do it chapter by chapter? Did you do it in different places and then?
We organized. We deliberated among ourselves, and then I established the chapter headings that we would have, and then put the different photographs. Tried to put them in their most logical place. We would write the captions and the sections. And most times the writings that were done, exceeded the space available for the captions, as you know. So we spent a lot of time not only writing, but then going back and editing and changing. So I guess you had asked a question, how long? I think there was 6 months of fairly intensive work. We would meet a couple times, once or twice a week, and then work on our own. So it was about 6 months of fairly intensive work, and then a few months prior to that of organizing and angsting about it and doing all that.
Now, you published this with Arcadia, and were you in communication with Arcadia often? Did you have to send pieces, or did they say, no, finish the book, send us the book, and then we'll look at it? How'd that work?
They had various deadlines that they wanted to see. Deadlines mainly having to do with the photographs to make sure that the resolution met their quality
They tell you
control.
exactly how many DPIs.
Exactly.
Each one had to be,
That's one of the things that Brian Vanguard done for us. He was able. We had scanned it, but he was able to, to modify the resolution. But as Greg could tell you and Barbara could tell you, we probably had as many photos rejected by Arcadia Press as were accepted, just because the original photographs were either copies of original photographs, or the condition was poor, or the resolution didn't work out. So there was some grumbling among us that we felt certain pictures should be included, but
they didn't. I know.
they
I had
didn't.
the same thing with Hauntings of the Hudson River Valley. I had a lot of photos in there, and I said, this photo has to be in there, and they go, no.
Yeah.
And you can't really say too much. They know what they need to do. So you had a vision. Does this book meet your expectations? Does it meet your vision? Is it what you wanted to do?
Pretty much. It's pretty. We got a lot into it. We would have loved to have put more into it.
Yeah.
Some of the things they were like Eugene said, they were very restrictive about the images that we produced, that they put in there. But I know one of them that I insisted on was having having the names of the contributors instead of just putting like Barbara Bosch or Ellen Lupinacci. Put their maiden names in. Include that in the credits. So the credits look a little different than normal, because it would have Barbara Lucina Bosch, it would be Ellen Barrett Lupinacci, but I felt the tie in to the past with the family, longtime family
Great
names.
idea. You're right, that's history.
Yeah, that makes the connection there.
So you gathered this all together, and when it was done, it was done. But what were some of those things that you say, oh, I wish that photo was in there?
There were so many of them, and so many of them. I actually lost track. Like Eugene said, he would submit them to Arcadia. They would send back, no, that's not good enough. Send us some more. By the end of it, I forgot which ones finally got in, which ones didn't get in. But there were so many images of Mahopac Falls, between the fire departments, the churches, which were tremendous. We got a terrific photograph of the church on the hill, the Presbyterian Church in Mahopac Falls. It's fabulous. That Reverend Mast loaned us to scan.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing when we stop and think about it. There's so many different factions out there. There's the historical side, but there's churches and there's schools and there's libraries and personal photos. It must have been amazing trying to figure out what to do and how to get them all in order. Now, is this in like chapters, sections, Who decided that? I mean, do you work together and say, look, we have to put this here and put that there? And
Eugene.
good, Eugene.
Right. Yeah, again, we tried to develop chapter headings that were fairly comprehensive representations of what went on in Mahopac over the last century and a half, 2 centuries. So, as you said, church sections, landscape sections. I as an archaeologist, I'm fascinated by changing landscapes. So, I personally always enjoyed the photographs of a particular landscape, as it was, say, in 1890, 1880, and then looking at that landscape, well-known landscapes today. There's one particular image near where the road to Mahopac High School comes into Route 6N, and there's a traffic light there, and there's a photograph from the late 19th century, and it's all open, and there's an outhouse that you can see. You can see one of the hotels on the lake. And now when you look at the picture today, there's just a traffic light and modern developments and everything else.
I have a close friend who worked in what I believe they called Camp Henry over in the Secor area.
Right.
And he kind of ran the place. He knew every stick, every rock, every branch. But he always tells me that when he goes there today, it breaks his heart because he can't even tell where the entrance to it was.
Right.
It's just everything is completely changed. And it goes back to what we said. If we don't preserve the past, it will be gone forever.
Right.
It's like the only way you get to see a deer is by a photo. And those days aren't far away. There are some things that our children will never see live. They're gone forever. So I compliment you on what you did here. I also compliment you on the fact that you guys are all over the place. You're doing talks in a lot of places. You're getting some good audiences. What do you say to these people? What do they come there to hear?
The people are amazed at, if they're new to the area, what it looked like. Some of them wish they had been here then.
Yeah, me too.
The people of my generation are so appreciative because they remember this and they're so glad now other people will see what it used to be like.
Yeah, I am so jealous of the hotels. I wanted to sit on one of those porches and look out into the lake. I wanted to hear music. I wanted to sip a glass of wine, non-alcoholic of course, and just sit there and enjoy the ambiance. I mean, it just amazes me what was here. And so much of it's gone. Not that Mahopac isn't pristine and beautiful now. It is. But so much is gone. The railroad that passed through. I mean, now you can go to the freight house and have coffee instead of catch the train. But it's a different place. Still a great place, but wow, there was so much here. All right, so people are coming. They're coming to see. They want to know. What else do they want to know?
They want to know about the history. Like the hotels were a big item from about 1850 to 1950, 1960. They were a big item. The Gregory House was second to none. It was the place to go in the 1850s through 1878 when it burned down. The place between here and New York City and Saratoga. The Commodore Vanderbilt built the branch line from Golden's Bridge to Mahopac, the Lake Mahopac station as well. Then you have the Putt line, which came in after that. Bosch Tweed owned at one time a part of the Carpenter House and the Gregory House. A lot of people don't know that. The Delmonico brothers, you can just go on and on. They wanted to open up a place here.
One of the things that really turned me on is I can envision these wealthier people from New York City coming by train and then getting on the carriage and being brought by carriages to the front door of their hotels.
Yes.
Tell me a little about that. Wasn't there a regular carriage that kind of, like a taxi?
Yeah. Well, it was a stagecoach from Croton Falls.
Wow.
All the hotels and boarding houses had some kind of vehicle, horse-drawn vehicle, to pick them up before the railroad came into Lake Mahopac.
Very much the way we do it today with the airport limousines and the hotel.
Except the difference would be is they were all coming into Croton Falls. They all left Croton Falls at the same time, and then they raced up Croton Falls Road, and do mean raced. And the locals in Mahopac would stand by the side of the road waiting to see who was going to win. And generally it was the Gregory House during their era because they had the biggest team of 10 white horses.
Dirt roads.
Yeah,
Don't forget
dirt roads.
dirt roads.
Yeah, that's a good point,
roads. That's
Eugene.
10 white horses.
And
Can you imagine as a child coming to these places, getting out and being driven by 10 white horses to the front door of your hotel, overlooking the lake?
Can you imagine?
I want to be there.
Can you imagine about 8, 10 stagecoaches racing up Croton Falls
All at
Road,
the
one after
same
the other at
time.
the same time?
And I imagine the drivers had some sort of an outfit, or I mean, I wonder how these guys were dressed. I don't know.
They probably had some kind of protection, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen a photograph of,
Wow.
of one of them dressed on it.
Greg and I had our senior proms at the Hotel Mahopac.
Is that
And
right?
standing
See,
on
so
the
they were part of your
magnificent
life.
porch with the moon hitting the water
Now,
and on
which
the lake.
hotel was that?
The beautiful one where Four Brothers Pizza is now.
Wow.
Hotel Mahopac or the Thompson
Wow.
House.
All right, I'm going to put you on a spot. Exactly how many hotels and what were all their names?
Oh. Well, you had the Carpenter, the Baxter, the Cole, the Gregory House. You had the Baldwin House. You had the Hotel Mahopac, the Ardsley House, the
Wow.
Dean House, the Forest House. And then you
So
had,
it's more than 7. How?
oh yeah. Then
Oh,
you
I
had-
thought
He's
there
going
were
back.
only
He's
7
going
hotels.
back.
Some of them were
As you go
boarding
back
houses.
through the history.
yeah, then you had
hotels.
boarding houses besides that
Wow.
to supplement them.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
And later on, when I was a teenager, the kids of my age had summer employment at these hotels. I was
Yes,
a waitress
I
at
could
two of
imagine
them.
this. Wow, you worked at one of them?
At two of them.
Wow.
So it was wonderful.
Wow, see, I'll tell you, I yearn for that. Those were my days. I could just see the ballrooms and eating in some of the dining rooms. Now,
Many of them
when-
were segregated in certain ways about people who they would accept into their hotel.
So they were exclusive.
So life was wonderful, but there was
And what
an
it was-
underside of
Yeah.
everything.
Now, this is going to be a touchy subject. You don't have to go there. Locals and tourists, did they get along? I mean, that must have been tough because these people were coming in, sort of invading their territory a little
And
bit,
bringing money.
but bringing in money.
The local kids and the parents would complain because the hotel's open for the Memorial Day weekend. So they'd say, oh, you won't be able to find a place to park till after Labor
Yeah,
Day.
I could imagine.
But you were very proud that they were coming to your town.
Wow, yeah. I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to ask you. Is it true that Frank Sinatra had an interest in this area at one time?
I don't know.
right.
No? I had heard that he had an interest in buying one of the hotels because they saw this as like the Monticello of the area and that it was like close.
probably about the time that Frank Sinatra would have been able to get involved in it, the hotel industry here was going down, and it was moving to the Catskills after
Catskills,
World War II.
Yeah, see.
So-
Las
now,
Vegas.
how did we lose it? Is it just, did they just age?
Automobile,
age,
The
or
automobile.
highways.
open up Route 17.
People
Yeah.
could travel more freely, more
Yeah,
well.
you know, when I was doing Sybil Luddington, it was interesting because she left Fredericksburg to go to Catskill because Catskill was the next New York City. These people look and they go, Catskill? I said, yeah, but Catskill was right on the Hudson. All the steamships went by, all the captains and all their crews and all their passengers. There were 24 taverns in there. But time changes history. And I can imagine when the cars came, people were able to go a little further out, and they did. When did we lose our last hotel?
19, probably around around 1970. The Forest House, I guess, would be the last one. That would have been the last one.
Wow. All right, so the history of Mahopac. Got it all together. You're urging people to please pay attention. Let's not lose our past. Do you have any more presentations booked? Do you?
I always feel the 19th century history is fairly well documented, late 19th, early 20th century, because of the photographs that were there. You know, but Mahopac also has a Revolutionary War history
right.
everywhere there from Red Mills to the route of what is today 6N, a critical route for continental forces leading to New England. And it also has a pre-contact Native American history. There are still remnants of a lot of Indian sites that can be found around here in Mahopac. Less so, again, as we first talked about, every year development wipes out more and more.
Canopus Island.
But Canopus Island and Red Mills, the Hill Agor Farm area. There's a lot there.
Yeah,
So
Red Mills, wasn't that the first carding mill in America?
supposedly,
Yeah, it
Yeah, I mean,
came from England to
that's
Peekskill.
history.
It was smuggled out of England, from what I
Yeah, they
understand.
smuggled
into
parts of that
Peekskill
in.
and up to
So it was one, I mean, that's historical.
And Beverly Robinson had a house in the mid-18th century, right there where the Red Mills Plaza is today, and you can still occasionally go up there and find artifacts dating from the late 18th century that are there that they were bringing finery to their wilderness abode, so to speak.
Yeah, and I forgot how many, they said sheep. At one time, there were sheep farms all over this area, isn't that true? So it's...
I don't know. I don't know much about sheep. Dairy.
Dairy.
Something that
cattle.
isn't well known is grapes and apples were a big product of Mahopac Falls, being shipped out down to the city. We had 7 train stops, depots, whichever way you want to classify them, in the town of Carmel.
Wow.
And there was a big fire that raged through the community there of Red Mills around
And wiped out a lot of...
1918.
Now, the main section of Mahopac, that's changed, right? Was that always where it is?
No, this is about the 3rd location.
The 3rd location.
And Route 6 wasn't there until the 30s.
Wow.
It was 6N and then Lake Boulevard were the main thoroughfares.
Well, guys, we're getting close. So I want you to reach into that head of yours and think, what can we say to them? What do you want to leave them with? When it comes to Mahopac, it's still a wonderful place to live. Bring your families. Come. It has rich history. You need to know about it. Preserve our yesterday for the children of today so they don't lose their tomorrow. We can't thank you enough for your contribution to the history of our village. I am certainly going to make sure people read this. Is it true? There's no profits here.
No.
Where does the money for this book go?
All the royalties that we receive from the publishing company go into the Mahopac Public Library and the Town of Carmel Historical Society. If they go to the Mahopac Library or the Historical Society and buy the book, they get the full profit to sell the book.
Terrific.
We're not making anything
So
on
they
the
can
book.
buy copies of this at the library,
Right.
they can buy it from the Historical Society, and you, as a audience, as a resident of Mahopac, get this book. You'll be contributing. We can't thank you enough. It is a pleasure to have you with us. It was an absolute pleasure having
Thank you,
all
Vinny.
3 of you. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
And you keep on keeping on. Stay tuned to this show. Thank you for joining us today.